Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the QCAA external assessment for 2021 for the QCAA syllabus, the Specialist Math Paper 1 Tech Free multiple choice booklet. Holy dooly, that's a mouthful, but it is what it is. So this pretty much is tech free, so no graphics calculator or any calculators used of any kinds, and this is for specialist QCAA in Australia. But yeah, let's get straight pretty much into these questions here pretty much. So question 1. Which of the following is a population parameter? Okay, so we need to understand what each of these actually says. So Z, that represents a Z score. So that is used in statistics, and it's not really a population parameter, so we can say that's not it pretty much. S, that represents in the QCAA syllabus the standard deviation of pretty much a sample. So that is not for population, so that's not relevant. Mu, that represents the average of a population, so that's relevant straight away. And X bar represents the average of a sample as well, so that's not relevant. So the correct answer by elimination, if you will, is B, if you know what these symbols mean. But yeah, and that's about it for question 1. Let's take a look at question 2 pretty much. So question 2, when the polynomial p of z equals z cubed minus I z squared minus z minus I is divided by z minus I, the remainder is. Okay, so key word here, they said the remainder is. So we don't know if it's a factor or not, and we're pretty much not going to check if it's a factor because there's going to be a couple i's involved. So if you plugged in p of, well, what would this be? This would be z equals I. You would get some results here, but that's not necessarily a factor pretty much, okay? So what you're going to pretty much get is you can pretty much do long division on this if you want to. So you go z minus I divided by z cubed minus I z squared minus z minus I, okay? And then step 1 is just long division. So it's going to be this term divided by this term. So you have z cubed divided by z gives you z squared, and you can chuck that up the top there. So z squared. Now we don't care about the result we're going to get up here. We're only going to care about the remainder we're going to get here. That's our question, okay? Right, then you take the z squared, so z squared, and you times it by this term here, so z minus I, and that gives you z cubed minus I z squared. And then you chuck this guy down here, so you have minus z cubed minus I z squared, and you can see straight away that this is exactly the same as this. So when you have this subtract this, you get exactly 0. So you bring the rest of this down and you have minus z minus I, but we're not done yet because we're not finished doing our long division, okay? Then it'll just be pretty much the z negative z divided by z, so you get a negative 1 up here, so negative 1, and then you have negative 1 times by z minus I, so you get negative z plus I, and then you subtract it down here, so minus negative z plus I, and we can see we've done it correctly because the first term cancels out, so you get 0. Then you have negative I minus I, so it's negative 2I, and that is our remainder here. We can't do any more long division on that, okay? And we can see the correct answer is A straight away. And that's how you do that one there. If you have any questions about this question here, leave something in the comments and I'll try my best to answer it, okay? But let's take a look at question 3, okay? So, an object has a velocity of v of t equals e to the minus 2ti plus 1 over tk, where t represents time, okay? The displacement of an object could be. Okay, so, first of all, we need to understand how velocity relates to displacement. So, if you have position, so r of t, if you were to differentiate that with respect to time, you would get velocity, okay? So, we have a vector equation of velocity. So that means we have to integrate each of the components to get your displacement object, pretty much, okay? So you have to treat each of these components individually and you have to integrate them with respect to time, okay? Now, notice, look at all these answers here. They don't have any plus c's or they don't have a y component. Now, what we've been given here is an x and a z component, but notice they're not accounting for any y component or plus c. So what we're assuming is there's no plus c's and there's no y component, okay? Because it's not seen in any of the answers here, but you do have to integrate here, okay? So what we have to do is just take the x component here, so e to the negative 2t, and integrate that with respect to time. So if you were to integrate this, you just have to divide by the derivative of the inside function. So the inside function is this. So that would just be negative 1/2, because you're dividing by the derivative, because the derivative of negative 2t with respect to t would just be -2, so you get e -1/2 e to the minus 2t. Okay, so that should be the x component. So you're looking for the answers where it has that. Now, these first two, they don't have that. You can see they have it here, and they have it here at L. So straight away, it's either C or D. Okay. Now, we've got to integrate the z component. So that's the integral of 1 on t with respect to t. Now this is going to be natural log of t straight away. Okay. So the correct answer with this one would be C. This one is incorrect. What they've actually done there, instead of integrating, is they differentiated. A common mistake used by school students, but that's pretty much why they put it there. If you notice, what they put here is they actually put the differentials of this guy here instead. So if you were to differentiate this guy here, you would get -2 e to the minus 2t, the exact two answers here. So common errors they've put as your answers to trick a lot of students. Okay. Right, let's take a look at the next question now. Okay. So question 4, the number of sunflower seeds in each packet produced by a company is known to be normally distributed, okay, with a standard deviation of 100, okay. So straight away just write standard deviation is 100 of population, okay. A co-worker counts the number of seeds in a random sample. So you're thinking either confidence interval or your standard deviation of a sample. So standard deviation of a sample is your standard deviation of your population over the sample size n square rooted, okay, of 4 packets. So that just tells me straight away n equals 4 and the calculation of the sample mean. Okay, based on this sampling, the standard deviation of the distribution of the sample is, okay, so literally you're being asked just to calculate this pretty much. Okay, so the standard deviation of your sample is the standard deviation of your population, so 100 over the square root of 4, because n is the number of your samples. So that would give you 100 over 2, so that would give you 50. So the correct answer is B. Okay. Righto, if you have any questions about this one here, leave something in the comments and I'll try my best to answer it, but let's take a look at question 5. So, the augmented matrix shown is produced when a Gaussian elimination technique is used to solve a certain system of equations with 3 variables, okay? The geometric interpretation of the solution to this system of the equation is best represented by. Okay, so we have a plane here, so plane 1, plane 2, and plane 3. And we need to work out whether it looks like this, 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 or this, okay? Now, when we're taking a look at this thing here, we need to understand what each of the pictures is actually saying. This one is saying they have an infinite solutions. This one is saying they have one solution in common, so a single point they share. This is saying they have an infinite number of solutions, so a line. This plane is saying this plane and this plane has a solution with one plane, but 2 planes are parallel. Now, you can see probably from here that none of the planes are parallel, so it can't be that one here. And this one is just saying they have no solution at all, pretty much, okay? So none of them share anything pretty much in common, except for some little intersections. Now, when looking at the Gaussian, if you have an infinite solutions, then you would have all zeros on the bottom. Because remember, these rows and columns represent your x's and y's. So for example, this plane here is the plane 1x plus 1y minus 3z equals 4. If we take a look at this bottom plane here, this bottom plane is basically saying z equals 0. Okay, this top plane here is saying -y plus 5z equals -6. Well, if you substituted the bottom plane into here, you would get a y coordinate. And if you substituted that y coordinate in here and that z coordinate in here, you would get an x coordinate. So basically what this is saying, because of this thing here, you have an x, y, and z coordinate that all 3 of these planes share. So that means they have one solution, so it must be this one here, because they share a unique solution, okay? It can't be infinite, because you don't have all zeros on the bottom, and it can't be no solution, because there's no pretty much laws broken here, okay? And that's about it. If you have any questions about this one here, I'll do my best to pretty much answer it, but yeah, just leave something in the comments and I'll explain it, okay? Let's take a look at question 6. Okay, so the subset of a complex plane, the absolute value of z is equal is z minus 2 absolute value, and z belongs to a complex number is. Okay, so we need to understand what's been pretty much moved. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand what's the actual position is actually saying. So z is x plus I, okay, x plus yi. Now y is your vertical component, x is your horizontal component. So this pretty much statement here is saying we've been shifted to the left, so not up or down, because this is a real number. It's been shifted, well, actually it hasn't been to the left, because remember it's counterintuitive. It's actually been shifted to the right by 2, oh, that's how you spell it, so 2 units, okay? So it's like a parabola. So if you have y equals x minus 2 squared, that means it looks something like this here, okay? The exact same thing is here. This is a vertical line that has been shifted to the right, okay? Because it's counterintuitive. If it was z plus 2, it would be shifted to the left because it's also counterintuitive. So the correct answer here would be any vertical line, so it can't be that, it can't be that, shifted to the right. So the correct answer is C, okay? If you have any questions about this one here, leave something in the comments. I'll try my best to answer it, but let's take a look at question 7, okay? So the mass of a particular variety of cakes is claimed to be normally distributed with a mean of 660 grams. A random sample of 5 cakes is found to have a mean mass of 600 grams. Which option best represents a confidence interval for mu based on this sample? Okay, so first of all, you need to understand what pretty much the formula is for a confidence interval. So a confidence interval is basically the mean of your sample. So in this case here, it would be 600 plus or minus a certain value. So I'm pretty sure it's plus or minus the z-score of your standard deviation on the square root of the sample. So this is your formula for your for your confidence interval. Your z-score basically tells you what confidence level, whether it's 90%, 95, or 90 or higher. But pretty much it's a width. It's basically saying you've got X bar in the middle and your certain level over this way and a certain level over this way, okay? So first of all, you need to look at all the examples here where you have X bar in the middle. Now X bar is 600, okay? X bar is the average of the sample, okay? So straight away, this one is incorrect because X bar is in the center because this is X bar. This one here is incorrect. This one isn't incorrect, it has the right idea, but it's got the wrong number here. It's meant to be 600, so that's not correct. This one is correct because it has X bar in the center and it's gone a bit over here and a bit over here. So that would be the width of the confidence interval depending on what z-score you have. So the correct answer is B. Okay? Right. Let's take a look at the next one. So let P of n be the proposition that this lovely thing here. So the sum from r equals 1 to n of r plus 1 multiplied by 3 to the power of r minus 1 is equal to n times by 3 to the n, and n belongs to the positive integers, okay? So which option represents the correct formulation of the assumption P of k? So basically, this is basically saying, all right, let n equal k, and k belongs to an integer, okay? Oh, they've said that there, perfect, okay? So basically, you're looking in your statement here, you see your n here, and you see your n here, and you see your n here, okay? So you've got to replace all those with k's, okay? So straight away, you can see this one's wrong because they also replace the r's with k, so that's incorrect. This one's also incorrect because they did the same thing here. Now, these two, what's different between these two is the left-hand side of both of these is correct, however, the right-hand side is incorrect. They've put r's over here, so that's incorrect. So the correct answer is C because they replace all the n's with k's, okay? And that's it for 8. So let's take a look at the next question now. Okay. So question 9. The slope field for a differential equation dy dx is equal to y minus x squared is shown. Okay. The solution to a curve of a differential equation passes through the point 3 minus 5, and it also passes through the point, and then you get to pick. Okay, so you've got to think of it like a current. You've got to think of it like a fluid. Okay. It's going to follow pretty much the path of the slope field. Now, it is not going to go to S because look at the steepness of the current here, okay? It's not going to allow that. It's not bending over like this pretty much over here. It's going to go straight and follow this path here, okay? So it's going to go up. Now, it's not going to go over to Q either because you see the gradient is slightly pointed to the left. So if anything, it's going to curve around like this pretty much. It's going to miss it. There is no indication at all that the curve should go this way because all the steepnesses are pointing to the left, okay, of the page. So it will never hit Q. So Q is a common one students will pick, but you've got to think of it like a current. It's not going to hit it. It's just going to wipe past it, okay? It's probably going to go around here, go through pretty much here, and then up through here. So that could be a particular solution, or it could go pretty much like this and bend around like that, okay? So out of the options here, it is not going to hit S, it's definitely not going to hit Q, and it's never going to hit R because the current is too strong and it won't ever go over that way too much. It is most likely going to hit P based off this drawing here, okay? So the correct answer would be A, P, okay? That's the only point that the differential equation could also share pretty much with this point, okay? All right, let's take a look at question 10. So, the 2016 Australian census recorded the number of bedrooms per household. The results are summarized in the histogram as shown. Based on this data, the mean number of bedrooms per household was to be calculated to be 3.5. Okay. 50 samples of size 40 were randomly selected from the census data and the sample means recorded. The histogram that most likely represents the distribution the sample mean is. Okay, so when you think about it, when you take a bunch of samples, it's going to form a normal distribution, but it's going to be based off the average and the structure of the data. So you see it's a lot more in favorable on this side of pretty much 3 than this side here. So when we're looking at all these, they all share normal distributions pretty much. However, some of them are more wrong than others. So for example, this one is incorrect because there isn't more data on the left-hand side of this graph than there is on the right-hand side. So that doesn't make any sense at all, okay? Now, take a look here. Looking at the averages. This one looks pretty good. However, the average doesn't match up. The average is 3.5. This is 3.4. So that one can't be correct. Now, it's pretty much down to these two here pretty much, okay? Now, when you think about it, there's still, even though it's a bit short here, there's still a bit of data. It's not as significant as this. And there isn't less data all wrong here pretty much, okay? It's never going to look like this. It's not going to peak up and then go down like that way. That's just a replica of this graph here. It's got to have some normal distribution with it. At the moment, this isn't really a normal distribution at all, okay? I think that's how you spell it. Hopefully that's how you spell it. This is getting recorded, but yeah, it's not this one either. The correct answer would be D because it has a matching middle and it has a normal distribution about it and is slightly more in favor on the right hand side. So the correct answer is D. Okay. Yeah, and that's about it. I think there's no more questions in this test. But yeah, if you have any questions about anything done in this test, let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to answer it. But I will see you in the next one.